This is going to be a mechanics overview for my Introduction to Systems Design project. As the brief goes, I decided to go for a similar approach to a party game, going for a two-player approach. A slight twist though, which ended up being more difficult than I intended, being both players being controlled at the exact same time, which I ended up figuring out. I'll go through my points one by one, so I can just get everything done in a good amount of time. The first thing I will be talking about is my inspiration. A predominant amount of my inspiration came from Mario Party. The framework, I believe, perfectly encapsulates a cartoony style of game. And so I think the best point of reference will be a cartoony based game, such as Mario Party. Alongside the framework and the brief perfectly outlining a party game like Mario Party is, it allows me to go as crazy as I want with references towards that as possible. The only real difficulty then would be blueprinting my references towards that, but I'll cover that in a second. As you can see there, I decided to go for an approach where we have the arena below us, set specifically to 0, 0, 0, with rotation and scale set to basic as well. Gives a very easy standpoint for a designer or anyone else coming along to the project wanting to create new maps, adding new assets into the framework to alter it however they please. Allows them to create a very concise a lot of similar arenas which wouldn't be tinkered with too much. For example, the grid is a 9x9 with barriers around the edge. Any designer that wanted to make a 10x7 map for some reason, they could do that very easily, and the piece of the framework would be able to support that. For example, if I wanted to move one of the player's spawn boxes, I could very easily shift it around in this specific instance. So my events referencing the grid tile, they could all be repeated as well. It's just trying to keep it as universal as possible when it comes to measurements. For example, every single one of these fences specifically covers a tile. It bleeds over a little bit just to make it look nice. And yeah, as for these islands, these are my win and lose condition islands. So with two players, if player 1 over here wins, the character in blue, indicated by a blue box, that's another thing I'll cover in a second. The colors of these boxes. If player 1 wins, they will pan over to this island, which shows the character, a copy of the character standing on a box with the other character sitting in some mud. This is the same on the other side. If player 2 wins, player 1 is stuck in some mud. My reason for this, as to why it's so close to the arena, there isn't really one. It's more for simplicity of controlling this box, which is the camera. Again, it's in blue. I'll explain the convention afterwards. The main idea is just for simplicity. I can turn the camera on a spring arm very easily. Just if it's facing the arena, mid-game I can snap it over to my island and move it as well, and it would be completely fine to do so. It's universal. It can be used on this way. It can be used this way. I can alter wherever I want the camera to go very easily. So there's that. Final. I guess the final small aspect of it is these clouds. Just because we're in the sky, makes sense to add the clouds. Also, as a Mario Party as a game often uses the sky as a motif, an art style motif. And with the basic Unreal Engine being a sky with just infinite blue below you, I said, you know what, let's just chuck some clouds in there. Let's use some Niagara particles. I just used the rocks and colored them white, I believe with my own material, or no, with the in framework material. But I made a special smoke particle, which is somewhere. It's with a smoke particle effect, and this drifts along mid-game. You can see that in the gameplay video. In the background, I have these these clouds floating along in the background. Niagara particle trailing behind them. Kill floor if player falls off, kills them instead of falling it for infinitely. Everything else is standard, like the point light. That's everything for this bit. Now going on to the more important stuff, the mechanics. I decided to have everything controlled by boxes, specifically boxes with actors set up to support 0-0. The main reason for this is just consistency. Every single map is going to start in 0-0 or 0-0-0, sorry. So everything staying around this point makes sense, and I've built every single actor with the route to fit the 0-0-0 convention. For example, the first bit that I will be touching on is my player spawner. A blue box for spawning player 1, an orange box for spawning player 2, because, well, the player 1 is a light blue, player 2 is an orange, and the camera being this dark blue because the matinee camera, I quickly bring one into, I believe I can bring one in here. I'll just bring this in. Yeah, the matinee camera, almost matching the color. Yep, so that's the player spawner. I then have this event spawner right here. This is like a similar shade of orange, slightly different. It's just to differentiate them. And this is where the root of all events happen, right in the middle of the map. And then the player will be able to add, or click on this and add however many events they want. And finally, coin spawner in yellow, because the coins are yellow. Again, set 000 for convention, with the cooldowns, number of coins, and everything else here alterable by the designer. If they want to create a map with more coins and increase the coin condition or coin win condition, they can do that. That's that. And finally getting into the folders and stuff. Conventions, these are just like not very important. For example, like this, I can obviously just, yeah, I'll keep that, but lots of these are just like not very important. They don't really fit into anywhere. I guess these could go into this. They could go into here. Yep. But anyway, we have a similar convention. Events also being in boxes. Every single actor or pawn in this framework that would be inside of, well, hidden from the player, is a box with its own color. For example, this cannon box is black because the cannons are naturally black. And I'll go into the actual blueprints in a second. Other than that, yep, we have animations, event objects, gameplay, which is mainly just similar to event objects, but like initial ones. Map, if the developer wanted to add maps, they can put it in there. Meshes, if I've made any alternating, for example, bombs or the wick that's been lit. These were the original boulders, but I decided to go with the ones with the green, so the player could get a grasp of where they're turning. After that, we have Niagara, which has all my Niagara effects. Pickups, just the pickups from the weekly tasks and also the ones I've altered. The players, along with the camera, the controller, player 1, player 2, and these are all just universal things otherwise. Turrets, these are the only two that are really used, with this being apparent. This is used in a weekly task. And the UI, this is the UI for the stuff for the UI. Majority of this is me testing how to get animated materials, which I ended up getting. These are all not very needed otherwise. Yep. So I'll go over some of my methodology behind some of my blueprinting. What some that I have I'm focused two that I want to focus on are specifically my conventions for getting references. There are lots of different ways, of course, to save references. However, because I'm running with a system where there's only going to be one player 1 and one player 2, sorry, I'm just going to take a sip of water. Because because there's only ever going to be one player one, one player two, and also one camera. If I go over to the player spawner, here we go. I am only ever going to spawn oh, I got confused for a second. I accidentally labeled this like that. There we go. There's only ever going to be one player one, one player two, and one camera. So in every single blueprint which references them, I can very easily have the same piece of code which just, oh, that's the event manager. Don't know why I was clicking on that. And play UI, graph. Every single time I can get player one, set it, get player two, set it, get camera, set it. I can very easily do that for everything, like I said, because there's only going to be one of each. There's never going to be a case in this style of game where there's going to be multiple players. If there are, then it can be modified, but this game is designed to be 2 players because of the fact I wanted to create a game similar, I guess, to point of reference to Fireboy and Watergirl, like those old like reference to old website games, desktop games, which you play online for free, where 2 players play on the same controller, which in this case a keyboard, because the second closest thing you could play or have 2 players playing on is a controller. But that'd be really, really janky and not intuitive at all. At least with a keyboard, there's WASD spacebar and up, down, left, right. Insert if you have a number pad on the right side. Otherwise, insert is kind of difficult to access, but it's not the end of the world as players don't often have to jump. The jump is in there in case another developer wanted to add other events. As that's the main methodology behind this framework is that a future developer could alter this however they wanted, which is why I've made everything easily referenceable and easy modifiable. Yep. Another thing I wanted to mention with the camera, if I can quickly find where that is. Yep, here. Is I've set up my controller in my camera. Now the reason for this is if I go back and start playing, what would happen is if I had just one controller, I could only have one player controlling this, like the characters. I wouldn't be able to have the second player controlling. However, I can now have, because I have the controller set up in the camera, I can have 2 players moving at the same time. And how I have that is by going into my project settings. I'll bring this over to the screen. Apps and modes. I have no default pawn class, but I have one controller. And the reasoning behind this is so I can have my main controller inside of my camera. For the reason it's inside my camera and not inside anything else at the spawner, is because the camera will always exist alongside the players. There's never going to be a time where the initial camera won't be alongside the players. The player will always be watched by the camera. There are times where the players exist without the camera exists without the players. That's for the win and lose situations. Yep, and so that it doesn't matter if it's like a relationship where the players depend on the camera, but the camera doesn't need to depend on the players. Therefore, it's fine to have the controller inside of the camera. The next thing I would also like to go over is I guess I'll go over my coin spawners. That could be a good one to talk about. I have not put a end on the coin spawner. But the main, I guess that's just a simple thing that just came to mind. That's because, well, once the game's over, the player shouldn't be staying in the game for much longer. The game just ends. I could have added a gameplay loop to go back. However, I didn't think it was all too necessary, as it was inspired by Mario Party. It was mainly meant to be a one done kind of game. It didn't need to loop. So as in my gameplay video, I exit out and play a separate instance every single time. I don't see that to be too much of an issue. If it were to be developed, then yes, it could be. However, as it stands as a prototype, well, showing off some systems. Does not matter. I use structures. This is the first time I ever use structures. I absolutely love them now. I simply had an array of coins and their weights. All of these, not necessarily adding up to 100. In my case, they do happen to add up to 100. For example, if there were so many items that it would be hard to have them add up to 100 using only integers, it can go over. In case here, like if I wanted to, I could increase the weight of these coins to 75, and they would still work. Yep. Timer starts, drops the coins. It takes the corresponding weight of the. It generates a random weight. Decides by subtracting. It takes a random number between 1 and the max weight. That's if we take for the example 95. It will take the generated number being 95, subtract the index of the first weight, in this case it's 65, and it will repeat until it gets below 0. In this case, if we go through, it's 95 subtracted by 65, which gets us 30. It will save that number, it will go back, it will try again. So we have 30 subtract 25, which is 5. So 5 is greater than 0. Save that, go back, and then it gets to 5. Subtract the 10. Bam, we've chosen to summon a large pickup coin pile. We then choose we grab the array index, grab that array of the coin, and then spawn it. I'm just realizing I am going a little bit over time, so I'm going to go over everything else very quickly. Start events, I can spawn, and when I begin play, I start the event. This is just if there wants to be a main menu, I don't have to call it by a begin play, I can call it by pressing a button. My time between the events, set timer by event, and then I can alter this number. I can add it to a randomizer if I wanted to, or I can slowly decrease it. I choose an event in my array, remove it for back here, and spawn the event. Those are the boxes. Spawner, again, very simple. Spawn player 1. Set the controller. The controller possesses player 1, just so we have a index, so both players can be controlled at the same time. Spawn player 2, spawn camera, initialize it. Final things to touch on, I guess, are the base character. Base character is very simple. On the beginning of play, I just set some initial variables, and I get a reference to the camera. I don't need to get a reference to the other player. That's a good thing to mention actually. How the players work, if I just press play, is this is a child class, and this is also a child class. If I go into player 1, I can grab the blueprint for player 1, go to the full blueprint editor. There's no real difference. If they wanted to add classes, they could add them here. However, I didn't see classes to be necessary. Being a Mario Party style game, I want it to be as fair as possible, purely on skill, with a little bit of luck sprinkled in, which I have with the events. Then I have an event tick, which is specifically on gameplay. So I don't have to trigger this every time if I'm not in gameplay. Move forward, set the ball to spin. That's another thing. This is a pawn, however, this is just a static mesh that spins in place. I wanted to try and make a realistic gyro spinning, like so. Like if I wanted to move on angles, however, within the time frame, I just was like, it's not that important, and also might throw off the player of which direction they're facing. And the green thing just there to guide the player. Here's the controller, so the actor can actually, or the pawn can move given the controller. My win conditions are set down here for adding coins and any damage. Clamping it so health can't go below 0. If player reaches 50 coins, then we go to a win condition. This is all I need for winning. I just realized actually these are no longer needed, because that's another thing I should mention. Um, my win conditions are decided in the gameplay um, UI. When I set the health, I divide it by 100 so it fits into the progress bar being scaled by 1 or between 0 and 1. I set a percent, then I check if it's equal or lower than 0, and if it does, I win through the UI. The reason I do this is because the camera, similar to why the characters always are linked to the camera. The camera doesn't depend on the characters, but the characters depend on the camera, and the camera depends mostly on the UI in gameplay, so I can trigger win conditions in gameplay. So I have if player 1's health drops below 0, player 2 wins. If player 2's health drops below 0, player 1 wins. As for the coins, wrong way. I set the coin count here, and if coins are greater or equal to 50, player 1 wins. If player 1's coin counter is over 50, player 1 wins. Player's 2 coins counter goes over 50, player 2 wins. That's almost cover. I believe that does cover everything. Yeah, I tried to keep the framework as vanilla as possible, keep it as assets go as simple as possible. As I consider my style to be more mechanics and blueprinting. My style is not, as you could tell, it's just an arena. My style is not at all making things so you look nicely. My job is to make it look presentable, but I want to make things work, which is why I went majority on mechanics side of things. Uh, so yeah, that was my presentation of the mechanics inside of my framework called BoulderDash.